Good afternoon. My name is Dan Scripps, Chair of the Michigan Public Service Commission. I call this meeting of the Commission to order on December 19th, 2024 at 1:06 p.m. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Chair Scripps,
Present.
Commissioner Peritick,
Present.
Commissioner Carrion. Present. Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Today's meeting is being held in person at the Commission's office at 7109 West Saginaw Highway here in Lansing. We are also hosting this meeting remotely using Microsoft Teams. Telephone relay service is available through the phone option. If you are participating via Microsoft Teams, you may also turn on the live captions by clicking on the More button at the top right of your Teams window, then clicking on Language and Speech from the drop-down menu, and finally clicking on Turn on Live Captions. As indicated in the notice for today's meeting, if we lose the remote connection, the Commission will not recess. The meeting will, however, be recorded and available for future reference on the Commission's website. In addition, the Commissioners can receive comments via lara-mpsc-commissioners2 at michigan.gov, and for reference, this email is also included in today's meeting notice. We will, of course, have the opportunity for the public to make comments as provided in the agenda. A few notes about this: comments are limited to 3 minutes and 1 per person. If you would like to make verbal comments, you must do so either in person or remotely through Microsoft Teams or by calling into the meeting by phone. For individuals attending in person and who want to make a verbal comment, you can fill out a comment card which are available at the front table near the podium. And for individuals participating remotely by Microsoft Teams and who want to make a verbal comment, you may click on the raise hand button at any time to be queued up for comment. For individuals participating remotely by phone and who want to make a verbal comment, you may press *5 at any time to be queued up for comment. Public commenters on both Microsoft Teams and on the phone are added to the same speaker queue and will be called upon in the order that they enter the speaker queue. And so please do not lower your hand or press *5 again, or you will be removed from the queue and lose your place in line. And finally, to minimize disruptions, attendees participating by Microsoft Teams or by the phone will be muted until we reach the time for public comment. The first order of business is the approval of the agenda for today's meeting.
I move for the approval of the agenda for today's commission meeting.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve today's agenda. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The agenda is approved. The next item of business on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the November 21st, 2024 Commission meeting.
I move for the approval of the minutes from the November 21st, 2024 commission meeting.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We'll now have a vote on the motion to approve the minutes from the November 21st, 2024 Commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote, and the Commission meeting minutes of November 21st, 2024 are approved. The next item of business on the agenda is approval of orders and minute actions on the consent agenda, and today the Commission is ably assisted by Staff Attorney Blair Renfro. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Good afternoon. Today's consent agenda consists of 9 communications matters and 1 electric matter. The proposed orders and minute actions for these matters have been thoroughly vetted by the Commission's technical and legal staff and are ready for your approval.
Thank you, Mr. Renfro. I move for the approval of the orders and minute actions on the consent agenda.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the orders and minute actions on the consent agenda. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The orders and minute actions on the consent agenda are approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4A1 is case number U-16901. which involves a notice filed by Northern States Power Company requesting an extension on the 15th settlement payment from the United States Department of Energy settlement payments. The order before you grants the request for the 15th settlement payment as described in the order.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-16901.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-16901 is approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4A2 is case number U-20632, which involves a matter on the Commission's own motion regarding issues related to utility service curtailment procedures. The order before you accepts the September 30th, 2022 Natural Gas Curtailment Procedures Workgroup Status Report filed in this docket, adopts recommendations therein, and it requires the Commission staff to file an updated status report no later than July 31st, 2025.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20632.
I second the motion.
Just before we vote on this, I just want to acknowledge the work that has gone into this, led by our staff, particularly from the energy security section. We'll hear a bit more from them later in the agenda. And also to recognize that this is ongoing activity that was initiated as part of the 2019 statewide energy assessment, including focusing on the increasing interdependence between the natural gas and electricity systems. The curtailment procedures work that has been undertaken in this docket is essential to understand how we would respond in cases of emergency, and the discussions that have taken place through the work group, I think, have helped better position us should such emergency take place. So later in the agenda, we'll also hear a couple of updates related to winter preparedness, including an update from, as I mentioned, our emergency or energy security section, as well as from the American Gas Association on the new Natural Gas Readiness Forum that had its first meeting earlier this week. But I wanted to acknowledge that this is part of that overall focus on emergency preparedness, particularly as we get into the heart of the winter heating season. Is there any additional discussion? We'll now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-20632 is approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4A3 is case number U-21285, which involves an application filed by DTE Electric Company requesting ex parte approval of an amended and restated contract between DTE Electric Company and Ford Motor Company. The order before you approves the application.
Thank you, Mr. Renfro. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21285.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21285 is approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4A4 is case number U-21361, which involves an application filed by DTE Electric Company requesting ex parte approval of a special contract between DTE Electric Company and the City of Detroit. The order before you approves the application.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21361.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21361 is approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4A5 is case number U-21565, which involves an application filed by Northern States Power Company for authority to increase its electric rates in Michigan. The order before you approves a settlement agreement resolving all issues in the case.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21565.
I second the motion.
And just before we vote on this, I want to acknowledge that this is a settlement agreement that was agreed to by all the participants, and so appreciate the work that went into those negotiations and discussions. The additional funding being approved in the order before us will allow Northern States Power Company, which operates in the far western end of the Upper Peninsula, to replace aging distribution infrastructure, make capital investments in their transmission infrastructure, and also add software updates related to their grid management strategies. So appreciate, again, the work that went into bringing the settlement that's in front of us today. Is there any additional discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21565 is approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4A6 is case number U-21885, 2803, which involves an application filed by Northern States Power Company for ex parte approval of an extension of the temporary waiver of Mich Admin Code R460.732R of the Commission Service Quality and Reliability Standards for Electric Distribution Systems. The order before you grants the temporary waiver of Mich Admin Code R460.732R until December 31st, 2027.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21803.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21803 is approved. Recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4A7 is case number U-21810, which involves an ex parte application filed by Alpena Power Company for approval of a revised special contract. The order before you approves the application.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21810.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21810 is approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4A8 is case numbers U-21811, which involves a motion filed by Upper Peninsula Power Company for ex parte approval of an extension for the filing of its amended renewable energy plan pursuant to Public Act 235 of 2023 and the consolidation of case number U-21811 with case number U-21809. The order before you grants the motion to extend the filing date of the company's amended renewable energy plan, but denies the motion to consolidate at this time.
I move for the approval of the order in case numbers U-21811.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21811 is approved. Recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4A9 is case number U-21813, which involves a motion filed by Upper Michigan Energy Resources Corporation for ex parte approval of an extension for the filing of its amended renewable energy plan pursuant to Public Act 235 of 2023. The order before you grants the motion.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21813.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21813 is approved. I recognize Mr. Renfro.
Item 4B1 is case number U-21785, which involves an application filed by Simcoe Pipeline Company pursuant to Public Act 9 of 1929 for a certificate of public convenience and necessity to construct and operate the Bell River Pipeline in St. Clair County, Michigan. The order before you approves the application and makes the required agency findings regarding the project's environmental impact.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21785.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21785 is approved. We now turn to item 5 on the agenda, which is a winter preparedness outlook that I mentioned earlier, and would invite Ethan Kramer from our energy security section to give an update of the findings from the winter energy appraisal that was issued earlier this month. We issue 2 appraisals each year, one in the winter as we go into the heating season that looks at things like natural gas, propane, gasoline, and electricity as we enter the heating season. And then one in advance of the summer where we look at a lot of the same things, but with a summer lens associated with those as we get into the heart of travel season in Michigan. And so invite Mr. Kramer to provide an update of some of the findings from this year's winter energy appraisal.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Ethan Kramer, and I'm an economic analyst in the Energy Security section of the Michigan Public Service Commission. Today, I'm pleased to highlight the 2024-2025 Michigan Winter Energy Appraisal, which was recently issued by MPSC staff. For decades, the Michigan Energy Appraisal has been published by MPSC staff, analyzing and providing commentary on supply and demand dynamics for the most common energy commodities Michigan residents and businesses rely on. Today, I'd like to provide insight into two common home heating fuels that were discussed in the most recent winter energy appraisal, these being natural gas and propane. Natural gas is the most common heating fuel for Michigan homes, with an estimated 75% of households using the fuel as their primary source of heat. Supplies of natural gas around the country remain high, with the most recent data suggesting levels are 5% above the 5-year average for this time of year. Likewise, the winter energy appraisal forecasts that Michigan natural gas storage levels to end 2024 will be 3% higher than the 5-year average. Based on the assumption of normal winter weather temperatures, which is a 30-year historical average, the average household consumption of the fuel between November and March 2025 is forecasted to be 79,000 cubic feet compared to only 70,000 cubic feet last winter, which was a warmer than normal winter. Given the recent supply levels, wholesale prices for natural gas were lower this past fall compared to last year. This is reflected in a lower estimated average monthly gas commodity charge of $3.15 per MCF this winter, compared to $3.50 per MCF last winter. Considering the aforementioned supply and demand factors, this leads to an estimated average monthly natural gas bill of $141 between November 2024 and March 2025, compared to $131 per month during the same time period of last year. Next, I'd like to cover propane, which is used by an estimated 8 to 9% of Michigan homes as their primary heat source. Similar to natural gas, supply levels of propane to begin this winter around the Midwest, including Michigan, were above average. The most recent winter propane market update issued by the Energy Information Administration suggests stocks of propane in Michigan to be nearly 6 million barrels, approximately 1 million barrels higher than the 5-year average. Michigan's abundant underground cavern storage capacity for propane helps to reduce the impact of supply disruptions and subsequent price spikes during the winter months. Retail propane prices in Michigan to begin October averaged $2.17 per gallon and have since remained relatively stable, currently averaging $2.18 per gallon. These price averages are very similar to a year ago, so monthly average bills should be expected to be similar as well. But this, of course, will depend upon individual household preferences and winter temperatures. Lastly, I'd like to mention the winter energy appraisal, which can be found on the Commission website, covers electricity and other petroleum markets such as gasoline, distillates, home heating oil, and crude oil, all of which are expected to be readily available for Michigan businesses and residents as we move through winter and into 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer, and I appreciate the work that you highlighted around the shop report. I know each week, but I don't know that everybody knows that each week you call around to propane customers all across the state. And I will tell you that when I'm out and about and visiting some of those same propane retailers, they talk about the calls that they get from you, how much they enjoy the interaction. It also gives us increased situational awareness around the state of the propane markets and making sure that we're aware ahead of time if there are price spikes or any supply disruptions. Are there any questions for Mr. Kramer today? All right, appreciate your work. Thank you. Up next, we have joining us virtually Matt Agan, who's a senior regulatory counsel with the American Gas Association. The American Gas Association is the host of the Natural Gas Readiness Forum, which is a new effort that came out of a recommendation from the NARUC, or National Association of Regulatory Utility Commissioners, Gas Electric Alignment for Reliability, or GEAR initiative. And so want to recognize Mr. Agan to provide an update on this new effort, the Natural Gas Readiness Forum, and how that's helping to increase situational awareness ahead of the winter season and provide additional information and an opportunity for collaboration across the entirety of the natural gas value chain in advance of any challenges as we've seen in the last couple of winters. So Mr. Agan, if you are with us, I'd like to recognize you at this time.
Yes, hello. Good afternoon. As stated, my name is Matthew Agan, Chief Regulatory Counsel for Energy at the American Gas Association. Thank you for the opportunity To speak today regarding the Natural Gas Readiness Forum and specifically the meeting that occurred earlier this week and the efforts that have been undertaken to ensure winter readiness. First, just a little background on AJ and NARUC and the efforts that led up to the recent meeting that occurred earlier this week. AJ, founded in 1918, represents more than 200 local energy companies that deliver natural gas throughout the United States. NARUC, the National Association of Regulatory Utility Commissioners, represents the state public utility service commissions that regulate utilities such as natural gas utilities. In late 2023, NARUC established the Gas Electric Alignment for Reliability, or GEAR, working group. The GEAR consists of 7 state commissioners and 7 industry representatives. The working group's purpose is to bring together state regulators and industry representatives to develop solutions to better align the gas and electric industries and to maintain and improve reliability of the energy system. After several months of discussion, GEAR's first recommendation was the creation of a natural gas readiness forum dedicated to the enhancement of the U.S. natural gas value chain reliability via the promotion of communication, connection, collaboration, and education across relevant stakeholders. The Natural Gas Readiness Forum is an industry-led voluntary effort aimed at improving communication, preparedness, and readiness of the energy sector. This is achieved through a multi-state forum of stakeholders from various elements of the natural gas and electric value chains, as well as federal and state regulators. The GEAR Working Group recommended that the Natural Gas Readiness Forum invite a wide range of stakeholders to voluntarily participate, and those stakeholders would include natural gas distribution companies, midstream operators such as gatherers and processors, natural gas producers, natural gas pipelines, state utility regulators, and also RTOs, ISOs, representatives from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission and the Department of Energy, as well as independent power producers and others with an interest in the energy industry, and particularly with regards to readiness for the winter heating season. The intent is to conduct an annual readiness summit at the beginning of the winter heating season that includes at a minimum representatives of the gas value chain, and then also to convene meetings outside the annual meeting that could add further additional educational opportunities and could also focus on regional discussions. GEAR and NARUC recommended that the Natural Gas Readiness Forum be administered by the American Gas Association and that first meeting occur prior to the conclusion of 2024. That resolution was unanimously approved by GEAR in late October and was endorsed by NARUC's executive committee in November. Once the forum was approved, AGA convened multiple energy trade associations and energy-related entities and started in earnest to plan the meeting, and we were able to pull it off in Atlanta late last week. I must say AGA could not have done this without the tremendous support from the gas and electric sector, as well as state and federal officials, because planning at such short notice was a Herculean task. The first meeting did occur on December 16th and 17th in Atlanta. Approximately 90 attendees participated in the in-person meeting. The attendees included representatives from the energy industry, as well as federal and state agencies, such as representatives from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, the Department of Energy, the North American Electric Reliability Corporation, multiple state utility commissioners and their staff, including many of the GEAR members, representatives from state energy offices with responsibility for emergency operations, and multiple individual company representatives and energy trade associations. There were multiple panel discussions over the course of 2 days. The first panel provided an overview of the weather and energy outlook for the gas and electric sectors, and also it gave a weather overview from Georgia's Emergency Management and Homeland Security Agency. The second panel included discussions related to the different types of tools that the natural gas industry uses to be ready for winter. That panel gave a high-level overview of what a gas and electric utility does to prepare for winter, how they procure supply and transportation for the fuels needed, how gas producers and marketers prepare for winter, how an independent power generator looks at winter preparedness across various states, and also how the interstate pipeline system prepares for winter. The next panel included an overview of how different governmental entities look at preparedness, and how they fit into the mix. There was an overview provided by FERC's Office of Electric Liability, the Department of Energy Caesar office, as well as Tennessee's Department of Environment and Conservation. We also got an overview from the chair of the Minnesota Public Utility Commission on how Minnesota looks at winter preparedness. The next panel looked at regional coordination and how the different regions coordinate across the United States. There was an overview from the Northeast Gas Association discussing how things are handled in New England as they enter the winter heating season, as well as how the Northwest region also prepares for winter, and it also prepares for winter in their region. There was also a broad discussion with regards to how the RTOs and ISOs interact with the pipelines and other energy sectors provided by the PJM interconnection, and discuss how the different efforts that they do to get ready for winter and coordinate across both the gas and electric sectors. The last panel included a discussion regarding the lessons learned from different events that happened recently, and that include discussions with regard to how LDCs responded during the Winter Storm Elliott, and how the lessons learned during that event and how they've changed their planning process moving forward. It also looked at how the producers responded to different weather events in different regions and how they built out their systems to be more resilient. And there was also discussion regarding the natural gas pipeline sector and how they've been communicating with their different customer base to make sure that they are ready to serve customer needs as they approach the winter heating season. And that includes both natural gas utilities as well as the electric sector and industrial customers. Well, one big question is what's next? Well, we're going to start planning the next annual meeting, which we're going to hopefully have a little earlier this year, hopefully well before the start of the heating season. And it most likely will be in conjunction with a NARUC annual meeting. So that way more state commissioners can join and more FERC representatives can join as well. The next, we're also looking at and considering having regional meetings in conjunction with the various NARUC regions to help coordinate, to help to allow more people from the different regions to attend, and two, to have more specific regional discussions because there is a recognition that each region is a little different, each region has different needs, and each region has different energy mix. And the hope is to get more operational people at the meetings to attend so people can better understand the operational needs of each individual region. Thank you again for having me today, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hagan. I appreciate you being with us and to sharing the update on the Natural Gas Readiness Forum. I was struck through the meetings on the progress that we've seen since Winter Storm Uri in 2021 and Winter Storm Elliott in 2022. There are other winter storms that aren't as familiar, and that's a good thing, that we've sort of worked through the issues even at times when it was colder and the weather more severe than in those two events. But the development of storage assets, the increase in firm contractual arrangements, additional visibility by regional transmission organizations and local gas distribution companies, improvements in weatherization and improvements in communication protocols, including with the pipeline operators themselves. I think all of us put us in a better place, and I think the additional situational awareness and visibility that the Natural Gas Readiness Forum represents, I think, gives us yet one more tool in the toolbox as we prepare for the winter ahead. Are there any questions from either of you, from Mr. Hagan?
Yeah, just one question, please. This sounds like a really important step nationally for coordination. We've actually been doing something similar in Michigan for a few years now as well, and actually just ordered earlier in this meeting to continue these discussions on a regular cadence between our Michigan electric and gas providers via the Natural Gas Curtailment Procedures Work Group. Why do you see this being more necessary today than it was 5 years ago, and what are the benefits of doing this on a national scale?
Sure. So the reason why it's kind of appropriate today and why it's appropriate to do it on a national level is we've seen over time the more and more interdependencies of the natural gas and electric sectors. They are connected, well, I like to say, from the wellhead to the burner tip. You cannot produce natural gas without electricity, and your home furnace may not work in your home without your natural gas furnace may not work in your home without your electric blower working. So there's this need, and there's a need for reliability, but both sectors to make sure people get the energy that they need. And so because of that interconnectedness, it is more acute than ever that we have kind of these meetings and the fact that there is a large dependency on natural gas for both home heating and electric generation necessitates the need to kind of have these coordinated efforts. AGA has seen and our members have seen over time these different efforts happening at a state level, but there was no convening body to do it kind of at a national or regional level. And so we wanted so with the guidance of GEAR and NARUC, AGA thought it was appropriate to administer this program to kind of bring people together kind of on a more national level, and then also hopefully on a regional level to talk about these issues. Because in reality, the interconnectedness isn't, the power system and the gas system does not end at state lines. And so we wanted to make sure that we could at least have more broadly talk about these issues so that people can come together to kind of see how everything works from wellhead to burner tip and from generator to people's light switch.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess just to follow up on that, I'm curious when you speak about the regional levels, what are some of the besides changing weather, what are some of the common characteristics or expectations you have in convening at a regional level? So what's between the state and national level that you're focusing on sort of convening for discussion and eventually harmonization at a national level?
Sure. So the regional things are important for a few different reasons. One is looking at the different energy mix in the region and where the energy comes from. If you look at a place like, for example, in New England, they are at the very end of the pipeline system, the natural gas pipeline system. So their issues are a little different than, let's say, what could happen in the Gulf Coast, which is more of a production area. So it's really breaking out in a region is really looking at a recognition that a one size fits all thing may not work everywhere. And the fact that we could say, we recommend, or people could say we recommend building X type of infrastructure in some areas, such as underground storage for natural gas, but that might not work, for example, in New England because for the geological reasons. So the reason we're having that kind of middle area for the regional issue is to look at the specific issues in a region that are both kind of the physical realities of where they are in the energy system, and also look at maybe some of the regulatory issues that they're looking at as well, which are a little different because some areas are in an organized, wholesale organized market, such as RTO and ISO, and some are not and still vertically integrated. So there's all these little differences, and that's why we think it's important to have somewhat of a regional focus to recognize that there is not one size fits all approach here, and also the reality that the weather is different throughout the entire country. So it's kind of the regional aspect is kind of make sure we pick up on all those little nuances to make sure that reliability is across the board throughout the country.
Well, thank you again, Mr. Agan, for joining us today and for the work that you've put in around the Natural Gas Readiness Forum. I want to make sure that we remain vigilant as we get into the heart of the winter months, but I do feel like we're better prepared than we have been in previous years through a lot of little things that together I think give us a better than fighting chance of getting through some of the challenges that we've seen with increased severe weather. So appreciate again your willingness to join us today.
Great, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Our next agenda item, which we do at the last meeting of each year, is a quick year in review to try and summarize the work of the commission over the last 12 months. And I'd start by noting that it's been a busy year. With the orders that we issued today, we issued 395 orders in cases before the commission, including 6 electric rate cases and 2 natural gas rate cases. The rate case work in particular has been, I think, more than we've ever seen before. But overall, that 395 orders is I think, a reflection of just how busy we've been. The focuses really have been on reliability and affordability, including on the reliability front, the independent third-party audit of DTE Electric and Consumers Energy, their operations. It was the deepest examination that we've ever done at the commission into the 2 utilities' electric distribution systems. The ongoing exploration of the results of the audit and the comment period, I think, is still open, and we'll pick that back up in 2025. And I'm confident that will continue to inform the commission's work to reduce power outages, shorten the time for restoration of power after storms, and keep residents safe. In addition to the audit, reliability work included approval of reliability-related investments in utility rate cases, increasing the outage credit to $40 and then $40 for each additional day a customer remains without power once a customer is eligible for the credit, and ongoing work into the utility distribution system plans and efforts around the incentives and disincentives work group, with more to come on those two initiatives in 2025 as well. On the affordability front, the Commission worked with partners in the legislature, human services agencies, and utilities to promote legislation that was signed this week by Governor Whitmer to expand access to the Michigan Energy Assistance Program for up to 335,000 additional households. MEAP, as it's called, provides energy bill assistance and self-sufficiency services for income-eligible households, and that income eligibility also goes up with the legislation that was signed this week. So allowing for more people to take advantage of the program. In 2023, even without those improvements, MEAP aided 56,948 households, helping them to make their energy bills more affordable. And other energy affordability work at the Commission continued through our work groups, including the Energy Affordability and Accessibility Collaborative, the Low Income Energy Policy Board, and the Energy Optimization Low Income Work Group. We also were busy on the public safety front, continuing our work on natural gas pipeline safety through pipeline inspections and damage prevention oversight. As of this week, our staff had conducted 976 total inspection days, including interstate inspections for the pipeline safety program, as well as 45 inspection days for the underground natural gas storage program. We also worked with the legislature and industry to ensure that the MPSC maintains our delegated authority under the Federal Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, or PHMSA. That took place with the enactment of Public Act 131, which raised Michigan's maximum civil fine penalty limits so that they are in line with federal requirements. Previously, our penalty limits had been among the lowest in the nation and hadn't been changed in 30 years. We also were focused on consumer protection and advocacy, and as of this week, our staff had handled 7,124 inquiries and complaints from energy customers and more than 3,000 from telecommunications customers. We've also worked to make the Commission more accessible and transparent to the public, including hosting 2 regular Commission meetings outside of Lansing, one in Grand Rapids in May and the other in Escanaba in October. We also hosted public hearings on the implementation of the state's 2023 energy laws in Detroit in March, a public hearing also in Detroit in September on DTE Electric's pending rate case. We visited the UP in July, including hosting a public meeting on the UP Energy Study. Efforts to broaden public engagement in Commission decision-making included a public hearing in Flint in August, and then in October held a virtual hearing on Michigan Electric Transmission Company's application for a certificate of public convenience and necessity for construction of 2 electric transmission lines. On the legislative implementation work, that was an all-consuming effort over the last 12 months, including preparing for the November 29th effective date of new authority for the Commission, oversighting of utility-scale renewable energy and battery storage projects under certain conditions consistent with Public Act 233 of 2023. In October, we adopted application instructions and procedures for electric providers and independent power producers to use when they seek approval for the projects. We also updated requirements for renewable energy plans, energy waste reduction plans, and integrated resource plans to comply with the new energy laws. We also launched a study of long-term and multi-day energy storage systems, working with the U.S. Department of Energy to complete the study, which is due in February. And commissioners and staff also joined the Long Duration Energy Storage National Consortium to better understand available technology and national best practices. And then also we tried to enhance public understanding of energy issues through the publication and issuance of a number of reports, including the Upper Peninsula Energy Study that I mentioned earlier, reports on renewable energy, distributed generation, energy waste reduction, customer choice, cable telecommunications issues, and others, and also published the results in March of a nuclear feasibility study that the legislature had directed the MPSC to do, where we engaged outside consultants to explore issues surrounding potential expansion of nuclear energy in Michigan. And then finally, complying with Public Act 119 of 2023, in September, we announced recipients of nearly $21 million in grants for renewable energy and electrification projects, with the recipients including schools, community groups, tribal nations, and other organizations. and then partnered with the Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy on the Propane Resilience Enhancement Program, which is a grant program to expand storage capacity of wholesale and retail propane suppliers that transport the fuel by rail or truck, and to support expanded propane pipeline and fractionation capacity. So it's been a busy 12 months here at the Commission. I expect that the next 12 months will also be busy, but we've got a great team here at the Commission, and I am confident that we're up to the challenge. Anything either of you would like to add?
Actually, yeah, I would just like to highlight our staff who did all of this work over the past year. That was just listening to you go through that list. It's really incredible the quantity of work that went into each one of those items. And we have a team of just over 200 here at the Commission, and that is a lot of work for right around 200 people to achieve. And I just wanted to briefly call out each of our divisions at the Commission and just say thank you for the work that you do. We have our team, our fantastic team of these over 200 true public servants have been working in the interest of all 10 million Michiganders every single day that they come to work. We have Dave Chisla and his team of gas safety and operations who works to ensure the safety and efficient operations of our natural gas system throughout both the lower and upper peninsulas. Julie Baldwin, who's here, and her team in energy operations ensure energy security, that generation and electric operations run smoothly, efficient interconnection is possible, and electric infrastructure can be interconnected and sited. Paul Proudfoot and his energy resources team plan for our future generation mix, optimize energy efficiency, forecast energy usage, and plan the distribution system and renewable energy integration. Ann Armstrong and her customer assistance team take customer calls directly, helping the public on the phone and via email, and ensuring customers have access to their data and that it's kept private. They also implement the Michigan Energy Assistance Program that the chair was just mentioning, getting assistance funding directly to customers who need it. Ryan McEnany and his telecommunications team manages all of the licensing, compliance, and financial analysis for Michigan's telecommunications companies. Bill Stosick and his team in regulated energy calculate and testify on all of our rates and tariffs, rate base, revenue requirements, income analysis, competition, licensing, and energy cost recovery reconciliations. Ryan Wilson, who's also here, and his team in the Regulatory Affairs Division advise on all things legal and efficiently manage all of the cases at the Commission. Leslie Thomas and her administrative services team manage everything HR and technical support for this organization, including running this meeting right now. Leslie Thomas, oh, sorry, I said that one. And finally, Kathleen Cole and her team in strategic operations manage all of our internal and external communications, our engagement with our regional energy markets and the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, and are our direct advisors who help us make the right decisions in each of our cases. So as you can see, there's a huge amount of work that goes into the decisions that we make and the orders that we issue from this bench every few weeks. It's this team that makes all of this possible, and I'm so grateful for all of their dedication to regulating Michigan's energy and telecommunications industries this year in 2024.
Well said. Thank you. Okay. We have now reached the time reserved for members of the public to address the Commission. As mentioned in the notice for today's meeting, we will take public comments in the following order. First, from individuals attending in person, and then from individuals participating remotely, either through Microsoft Teams or the phone, who have entered the speaker queue. As a reminder, this public comment period is for commissioners to listen to comments and concerns and not to answer specific questions. When providing comment, please indicate your name and where you live if you're willing to share, so that we have it for our records. And again, please limit comments to one per person and keep them brief, no longer than 3 minutes, so that we have a chance to hear from all who would like to comment. We do have, I think, a number of comment cards that have been filled out. And if you are just arriving and haven't had a chance to fill one out, Ryan Wilson, in addition to advising on all things legal, as Commissioner Peretick, is also has a number of comment cards, so it can pass those out if you'd like to add your name to the list of folks. So I will call up folks in the order that I received them, and I'll also announce the people who are on deck. And so Carol Sanborn is first, and then Val Walscheid Brennan, you are up next.
Hi, I'm Carol Sanborn, Lebanon Township, Clinton County, just south of the Maple River. This is regarding ITC METC U21471, Nelson to Oneida, and also the Helix line. Webster's Dictionary defines the word alternative as a root word meaning being alternate, arranged one above or beside each other, offering or expressing a choice, and different from the usual or conventional. Synonyms for the word alternate are other, another, and different. Public Act 31 requires one or more alternate routes. ITC METC has violated this condition of PA 30 along the 11-mile most northern curvatured route, which encompasses 30% of the line. Every home and landowners' civil liberties are being violated as there is no alternate route to choose from. As soon as it reaches Celine Har's property, it goes down to one route. There are no other choices. PA 30 doesn't define that what the word alternate means because Webster's dictionary does. It's common sense. Common sense also says the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Along the proposed route, there are many major curvatures. This makes no sense at all and will cost tax and ratepayers their hard-earned money. I should actually be saying Burns and McDonald as they were the ones to plan the route. At the ITC meetings, my son was told by an ITC rep that they used an algorithm to determine the routes. In my readings of the public information on the site, regarding this case, I found that statement not to be true, and that routing specialists planned the route. I also found an email dated 1/26/23 attached from Dan Smith, Lebanon Township Clerk, stating his concerns regarding state land in our township. I read meeting minutes before and after this email was sent and found no record of this being discussed with the township board or the constituency serves at any township meeting. If this is the only reason you are avoiding state land, it is unwarranted and irresponsible. There's an eagle's nest in a pine tree in St. John the Baptist Catholic Cemetery, which is very near Fish Creek, a designated trout stream where many people fish every spring. It's bad enough you need to cross the Maple River. Why bother crossing Fish Creek in several areas? This is invading this eagle's territory in their search for food. This route should totally avoid Fish Creek and the eagle's nest, or where the eagles fly to search for food. Attaches an aerial pic of the eagle's nest. I am attaching a snapshot from the ground as well as proof that it is real. I have submitted letters to President, First Lady Trump, Elon, Vivek regarding the siting of electric transmission lines and the waste that has been happening. I would hope that other companies could be utilized in the future instead of Burns and McDonald, ITC, and METC. The planning of their routes is very wasteful. I hate to think of how much private property has been destroyed in our country in the process of creating these lines. It's just despicable. I beg you to reroute through state land, the most common sense and least expensive option. If you don't reroute, I implore you to deny the certificate of public use and necessity for these projects. I also uploaded another separate note about DNR forested land being used in Roscommon County for solar array. So if that can be done up there, they can use state land down here. Merry Christmas, and please make 2025 a happy new year for my family by going around our property. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Sanborn. Merry Christmas to you as well. Val Wolscheid Brennan, and then John Kramer.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Val Wolscheid Brennan, and I live in Eagle Township. I am here today as an affected landowner of ITC's Nelson to Oneida project, case U21471. This project threatens my historical Centennial Farm and all three of our family homes. The proposed route in this case unnecessarily condemns 8 miles of land by not utilizing an available transmission corridor that ITC identified as a feasible alternative route. I have 25 years of experience in the electric utility industry. 11 of those years is experience relative to this case. I have an associate's degree in electric power technology, specializing in system design, and a bachelor's in electrical engineering, specializing in power systems. I have experience with right-of-way easements, system modeling, analysis, and planning. I finalize the design on large projects, assist with special design considerations, perform cost analysis. I recently collaborated on a transmission and substation siting project that considered criteria similar to those applied in this case. As an engineer and public servant, one of my guiding principles is concern for community. This is not just a personal fight for me, it's much bigger. I can no longer pretend to be just a landowner when my education and training recognizes unethical design practices that damage 8 miles of the community I serve. This is significant, 20% of the entire project. The use of existing corridors should be viewed as a siting opportunity to promote good public relations and an effort to minimize public impact. This approach also reduces cost, minimizes environmental impacts, streamlines land acquisition, and is critical to project success. It is so significant that the state of Wisconsin passed 2003 Wisconsin Act 89, requiring transmission providers to prioritize existing utility corridors first. Now that MISO has approved Tranche 2.1, I am concerned that the approval of a proposed route that disregards feasible siting opportunities will have significant impacts in the state of Michigan going forward. Such action will encourage transmission providers to squander Michigan's precious resources and ratepayers' money. This reckless spending will result in unjust and unreasonable rates. It is critical for the Commission to use this opportunity to require the use of an existing corridor to promote ethical design and good public relations with landowners and ratepayers for years to come. Thank you for letting me speak today. I wish everyone at the commission a happy and healthy holidays. Thank you.
Ms. Wilshide Brennan, you as well. Up next, we've got John Kramer and then Morgan Locke.
Thank you. My name is John Kramer. This is in regard to the Nelson Road preferred route through Pewamo at 1355 Jones Road. I live at 11285 Stony Creek Road, Pewamo. I grew up on a pig and crop centennial farm to very proud parents. Our dad lost his dad at age 12, was able to hang on to the farm, and our farm had dairy cows back then. He worked 14 years straight, personally, never missing a milking. That's 5,113 days, 2 times a day, equaling 10,226 milkings. This speaks to the level of commitment, pride, and love for our farm. My brothers and I started in elementary school, working 7 days a week. With this work ethic, we were able to save money and purchase our family farm. We have a camp we use in the fall and winter on the farm, a pond in the summer, my brother's homestead, all of which will be in earshot of the Corona discharge that will come from this preferred Nelson Road project line. In the past 35 years, we have done nothing but improve this land for conservation. My parents selflessly took land out of crop production, not only having lost the revenue and less feed, they bought thousands of trees, dug a pond, put up duck houses, bluebird houses, purple martin houses. In addition to that, we've raised hundreds of pheasants and quail, never hunted them. We continue to do all these things and put more land into trees. And one of the greatest results of this effort has been the steady increase in our eagle numbers. Over 10 years ago, MSU was already setting up trail cameras on our property to monitor and track eagles. On election day, I was able to photograph 19 eagles all spread out on the ground, right where the so-called preferred line would run through. They started flying around a little bit, and I think there was maybe up to 21 at one point. The line would come through, bird line would come through this summer. This summer, I was able to photograph an osprey that had grabbed a fish from our pond, as the eagles do. This past winter, my brother and his wife were on a walk in the trees and found an immature eagle directly under the power lines that couldn't fly. We have an existing 138 line running east and west on our property already. I also have pictures of this, and the DNR was called on this. We don't need another 345 double circuit line perpendicular over our existing 138 line on our farm. The last thing we want to see is more of our national birds, our symbol of freedom, laying on the ground, which is exactly how all of us on this project, people are impacted by this feel. Our freedoms are being knocked to the ground. So a for-profit company which is not supposed to be able to exercise eminent domain, prepares to do so. Our farm has seen everything: dairy, chickens, sheep, pigs. Pigs sold for 10 cents a pound would break even with 35 cents. It has seen the Depression, Prohibition, but the last thing it needs is another power line for someone else's profit. I myself have been in the power industry for 30 years. Something I find interesting about this is that the project is being sold as a way to hook into green energy. You know, the Carson City Power Plant, try and increase in size to make more money. I know for a fact that the supposedly dead Eagle mega site needed 2 345 lines, and that is magically happening now. Hopefully you can understand our disdain for this project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Morgan Locke, and then Mikulish Baron Galbari. I'll just apologize in advance for any mispronunciations.
Hello and good afternoon. My name's Morgan Locke. I'm a resident of Detroit, 48208. And I would like to speak today about the DTE rate hike request. As you had mentioned earlier, you had hosted a public comment in Detroit. However, it was cut short and I didn't get my chance to speak. So here I am today. I am a newer resident of Detroit. I first moved here 2 years ago, and when I first got my DTE bill, it was $400. I genuinely thought I was being scammed. Come to find out that this was a normal occurrence for residents who own homes, especially older homes, and the majority of homes in Detroit have been built before 1975. Mostly, I came here to speak here today because as the weather has gotten colder, many of my neighbors who are seniors and living on fixed incomes can't afford to keep up with the rising rates that DTE is requesting. It's caused many of them to make difficult decisions, such as choosing between paying electricity bills to keep their heat and lights on or paying for food and medical bills. If DTE wants to update their grid, I would urge you to tell them to use the $2 billion in profit that they made instead of putting the burden back on residents, many of whom are low income, especially in the city of Detroit. Yeah, I think that's all that I have to say. Please vote no on any rate hikes in the future of any amount. And I hope you all have a wonderful holiday. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Locke. You as well. Mikulish Baron Galbavi, sorry.
Yeah, that was pretty close. Hi, my name is Mikuláš Baron Galbavi. I'm a resident of the city of Detroit and a lifelong Michigander. I grew up in Monroe in the shadows of DT's coal and nuclear plants. I came here all the way from the city of Detroit to express my disapproval of any electric or gas rate hike under DTE. I strongly encourage you to vote no on DTE's requested electric rate hike. In fact, as public servants, you should advocate for rate decreases in income-based electric utility programs from the utility company and not using state funds. This past year, state emergency relief ran out of money before everyone could have access to that. And it's insufficient for the government to cover up a for-profit company's profit that is making profits, billions in profits every year, while people in the city of Detroit go without heat and electricity. Especially under a monopoly in a service area. We have not seen infrastructure developments in the city as was promised in the last quite a few rate hikes that DT has requested. So I strongly encourage you to vote no on any rate hikes for DT. And while I'm here, I would also like to express my great disappointment with your approval of a Line 5 pipeline tunnel and all other oil pipelines in Michigan. We cannot afford an oil spill in the Great Lakes, as was committed by Enbridge in Kalamazoo and also on Line 6 in Wisconsin recently. We need local community-controlled power that is clean and affordable. We need income-based electric plans so that people all throughout this state can stay warm this holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baron Galbavi. They got closer. All right. We'll get there. Apologies. I've got somebody named Ruta up next, and then Cayman Clark. I think it's Kaman Clark. Ruta?
Yes. Hello, good afternoon, members of the MPSC Commission. My name is Ruta Halu, and I live in the Wayne County. And I'm here, as well as the few members who have spoken before me, to oppose the DTE's continued rate hikes. Year after year, DTE has continued to receive funding for their rate hikes. As someone who has experienced life without electricity, I want to highlight the profound inequality this proposal has represented. My family grew up in Eritrea, a country in Africa where electricity was scarce. Power outages were our normal part of life, and we adapted because we had no choice. But I have never imagined that in a country as wealthy and resource-rich as the United States of America, there would still be people living without reliable access to electricity, not because it was unavailable, but because they simply couldn't afford it. When I moved here, I thought I had left those struggles behind. Yet I see my neighbors in Michigan, specifically those in Detroit and Highland Park, facing similar challenges. Families are disconnected because they can't pay raising bills. Elderly residents ration their heat during bitter winters, and this isn't happening in an under-resourced country. This is happening in one of the most prestigious and one of the most wealthiest nations in the world. And it isn't because of the decisions made by companies like DTE. If these rate hikes continue to be approved, it will push even more people into darkness. In Michigan, thousands of households are already spending 20% of their or more of their income on energy costs, a burden no family should have to bear. Instead of raising rates, I urge the MPSC to demand a different approach. We need better income-based payment programs so that energy-burdened households can pay a fair, affordable rate. We need policies that prioritize equitable access to electricity and ensure that no one has to choose between feeding their family and keeping their lights on. Energy is not a privilege, it is a human right. And as someone who knows what it's like to live without it, I ask you to ensure that no one in Michigan has to face that reality. Thank you.
You, Ruta. Come on, Clark.
You know me.
No.
Kamau.
Kamau.
But yeah, good seeing you all. Of course, thank you. Yeah, I would echo, of course, the sentiment that has been expressed in regards to DTE's electric case. For us, you've been seeing us for months. Of course, you saw us in Detroit. You've seen us here a couple times. Our messaging is always going to be consistent around rate cases, ensuring that one, we're not increasing rates for people that can't afford them, but also two, if we are in the context of having to explore how to fund the grid and fund investments into it, really opening up some of these other possibilities. It was great to hear a bit of what you all have done this year. I know we've talked about it a good bit around accountability rate making models, income-based rate making models. And we'd also like to see, in addition to that, probably just some follow-up on the audit that was done by Liberty Consulting Group, thinking about, folks in Detroit and Metro Detroit that are paying for electricity bills and gas through DTE. They'd love to know about the status of our grid, what investments are being made, where we stand. I think that audit was really, really great at sharing some information that we weren't as privy to. And so we'd, of course, encourage you all to come back onto Detroit and come back onto Metro Detroit and share some of those findings and really have some constructive conversations about how to build these things. So just to summarize, of course, I'm requesting, of course, a rejection of that rate increase, but I understand the conditions that you are working under and want to extend other opportunities as well to make things a little bit easier for folks who are paying a lot. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Kamau. Mr. Clark, I apologize for getting your name wrong. Takrisha Thomas.
Excellent job saying my name.
Finally got one right.
So yeah, I'm a resident of Detroit, 48235 zip code. I'm a mom. I took this opportunity to actually bring my daughter so she can see how it works. She's pretty bright, so I appreciate what you shared and the people in your community as well. I wasn't aware of that, and I really hope that those sentiments were heard. I'm a licensed insurance agent, and I want to second from the health care. I work with Medicare recipients, and it's not just that they're on fixed incomes, so you're looking at the low income part, but like they may have money, but it's right there. It doesn't move. So I hear all the time, do I buy my medicine? Do I eat? Do I feed my cat? And a lot of times that's all they have. They don't have family members anymore. These are supposed to be their golden years, and they don't experience that at all. So I promised them if I had an opportunity to say something that I would. So please consider them when you vote for the rate hike and vote no. And I also represent the Michigan Environmental Justice Coalition, and we are doing our part to educate people that this stuff is happening. A lot of us don't know. We get a lot of commercials for DTE doing concerts and things of this nature, but we're not aware really that this is all there is out here. They do monopolize, and it's not really fair. They should get an opportunity. Us as residents, we should have an opportunity to choose other ways of heating our homes, having electricity as well. So explore those type of opportunities as well. And thank you for listening. Happy holidays. And I get all of you guys are parents and stuff like that. So, just kind of think of that when you take your time to vote. Thank you again.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. That is the end of the cards that I have. I don't know if there are others who have filled out a card or who would like to speak. Okay, we'll go to the phone options or the virtual options. I don't believe that we have anybody there either. And so with that, we'll conclude the public comment period of the meeting. I appreciate all of those who shared their thoughts and perspectives with us today. And please note that the public may continue to submit comments to the commissioners via email at lara-mpsc-commissioners2@michigan.gov. Just rolls right off the tongue. But that email address is also in the meeting for those of you who are interested. I don't believe that I have any additional announcements other than the year in review that we did earlier. And so just as a reminder, the next regular commission meeting, I'm not even sure if it's a reminder, we may be breaking news here. The next commission meeting is scheduled for Thursday, January 23rd, 2025 at 1:00 p.m. That'll be our first meeting of 2025. And as we do each year in our initial meeting, we'll adopt the calendar for commission meetings for the remainder of 2025 at that meeting. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn today's commission meeting.
I second the motion.
We will now have a vote on the motion to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The meeting is adjourned. Have a happy and safe holiday season. Everybody, will see you again in 2025.